Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. It is me, Rob, and this is going to be a follow-up video from the last one I did about the microwave cabinet with the fillers that you can adjust, and we're going to take that to an oven cabinet, something just like this, because at least for me anyway, I do a lot of these cabinets where you've got a oven down here, a microwave above, and you have your oven width here, which this might be good for. And then, when you take a look at your microwave cutout dimensions, it's usually narrower than the oven. So you have to add fillers here, most likely on either side, to to get it to the cutout width that the appliance is calling for. So this represents an oven cabinet that I've saved. I've used on a job before, so this is pretty accurate to what I do in the past. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna create this guy. We're gonna do it from scratch. We're gonna add the two fillers. So before we get started, I'm just gonna save this a second. And I just want to point out that I'm in the new Cabinet Vision 2025.1. So it looks a little different, and I'm just now starting to explore it. So, but I just want to throw that out there. We are in the new Cabinet Vision. So I created a new job right here, and I had just pulled in this oven cabinet. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new room, and we'll just do this from scratch. And I'm going to create a wall here. And if we go to our objects, this looks pretty close to the same from 2024.4. All my stuff is still here. Here's my libraries. I have a library of tools that I have made, oven cabinet, and I think this is what I used right here. It's just stuff that I've saved from other jobs, but we'll use it. And so let me, this is different here. You can tell that they've kind of changed the UI a little bit. So it looks nice. Let's make this 109 just so we got a little clearance. All right, so let's assume that this is the oven cabinet that we want. I'm going to go ahead and make it 31 and a half wide. Pair of doors. Took the doors off when I shrunk it, but this represents the appliance package that two of my big builders use, and so we're going to use that. All right, so if you wanted to get here, I've got lots of videos on how, like if you wanted to edit it to this point. I'm not going to do it entirely. But any cabinet, and you can go through and you can start making your splits and sizing it and all of that. But I don't want to get bogged down with that because we're wanting to put these fillers in. All right, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to double click this into the cabinet level editor. We're going to come here to face because that allows us to add parts. So we're going to create a new part. I'm going to use the board, which is the 3/4 inch poplar, and then I'm just going to rename this to left filler. I'm going to hit next, and I believe our thing was opening here 16 3/4, but I'll just leave it at 17 for now. We're going to keep the front orientation. We're going to hit next, and we're going to hit finish. All right, so this is our left filler, and so what we're going to do is we're going to manually kind of get this into position, and then we'll start adding some formulas. But before we start moving stuff around, there is something that I want to point out before I do this, and it has to do with the object tree. So this object tree is what we're going to be using for all the parameters, when we do these formulas. But one thing that I noticed is that this tree, it gets auto updated based on adding and subtracting things off the cabinet, and that's important to keep in mind because as we start adding formulas, At least from what I can tell. And again, like, I'm not a pro at this. I'm going to throw that out there. But like, for example, we have this pair door openings right here because we have pairs of doors. And so it adds this into the object tree, and it gives us parameters that we can reference in equations. However, if I come out of here and let's say I delete these doors and I delete this drawer, and we go back into our object tree, we no longer have those door openings to pull from because they don't exist anymore, because I guess that's how Cabinet Vision does it, you know. And the reason I say that is because when adding in doors and removing doors I have found affects the overall positions of these fillers when I do them, because you know, you might reference an opening for height and then add doors, and then for some reason it throws it all off. So I'm bringing that up because I have found for me that before I start moving this around, for me to be successful, I have found that I need to get the cabinet more or less, that's not what I wanted, ready to go before I add fillers, to where I'm not really making any changes on it, so that way I can save it and it's pretty much done, just because it will throw things off that I have found. All right, we'll run into that here more, but I just wanted to get that out of the way before we start. So I'm going to have the doors. I really need to make sure that this is more or less ready to go. I just don't have the fillers in place. All right, so let's double click this cabinet. Let's go to the face, and we're going to click this filler. So I know that this is 16 3/4, so I'm going to make this 16 3/4. We're left to right. We can zero this out, and we can probably, we know that we need to go the thickness of this to the right more, so we'll go 1.5. And then the elevation, you know, there's a couple ways to get there. You can, if you just want to be really quick and dirty to get it really close, you can grab the measuring tool, and we can go here and say roughly 46 1/4. But you could add, you know, if you want to do it the correct way, you could add up all the heights until we get there. But, you know, for now, I'm just trying to get it close. So let's grab that left filler, and on the up and down, let's try 46.25. All right, so that gets us right where we want it to be. Now, if we go to 3D, we can see that it is right on the back. And so to fix that, you know, we could get this in position at, you know, I know this cabinet I think is 26 deep, so we could go 26 deep and then subtract the 3/4 for the thickness of the material. We could get 25 1/4. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to click this formula, and we're just going to do it in the equation right off the bat. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put cab.dz. So I'm saying cabinet, you know, we know that we're in the in and out. So Cabinet Vision knows that we're in the in and out. So it's saying take the cabinet depth, and we're going to subtract just plain DZ, which if it does not have anything in front of it like cabinet dot, it is just the material depth. And so we're going to test it out. It's going to return 25 1/4. So if we hit OK, we can now see that we are in the correct position, driven by a equation and not us just putting in hard numbers, which is, that's really, you know, how we want to start approaching this. All right, so now if we take, you know, we're going to focus on this left filler first and then the right filler. So it's important that when we go to position this, that this blue dot, you know, kind of the index point, is up against the side of this. Like, we don't want you know, if I rotate it to where this blue dot is anywhere on the side, we don't want that, because when we go to grow it, it's going to grow in the wrong direction. So on both sides, we need to make sure that that blue dot is up against the left side. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go from top to bottom, and we're just going to start putting in equations to size these, okay? So what we're going to do here, in fact, I'm going to do, let's say like this is 3, just so we can see it move when we make changes. Okay, so if we think about this logically, you know, how am I going to position this? Well, we're going to position this, the width. We know we have this width of this left style, which is inch and a half, and then we want to place this. So if we zero this out, we can see that zeroing it out is all the way up against the wall. So if we add inch and a half, you know, that gets us to where we want to be. So we need to be an inch and a half. You know, we need to be on the outside of this thickness, because if we ever change this thickness, we want this to know that into updates. So if we go back into our parameter edit, and then let's say something like cab.face.ls.dx. Okay, so let's see what that says. 1.5 inches. All right, so what did I do? So I'm gonna hit OK for a second, and that positioned it there. And basically what I did is I just went down the object tree. I said cab.face.ls left style, and then I told it dx, which is 1.5 inches right there. And so what you could actually do is you could come right here and copy this. And we could go back to this left filler, and we could, instead of typing that all out, we could just paste that. We could delete this out, Control V, test it out, and that is good. And so in theory, if we test this out, what we want to make sure is if I make this like, say, 3 inches, go back to 1.5, I need to make sure that that this filler knows that it's staying on the outside of the that left style. Let's see if I move it. Let's just make sure everything works. So I'm just going to kind of move it around, make sure we're good. So now, you know, one thing we can test if I want to like shrink this, so we can see that our up and down position is not holding. So we're good on the left and right. So let's start tackling the, got to be in the face view. Let's start tackling that up and down. All right, so this is where it's going to get a little bit more tedious, at least the way that I figured out how to do this. So you guys are just going to have to bear with me. And we can, you know, when I logically think through this, I think, am I going to size it from the bottom up, or am I going to size it from the top down? And so I think on this one, we're going to go the top down. All right, so to kick this off, we're going to click this equation button, and we're going to say, right off the bat, I'm going to say cab.dy. And what I'm saying is here is move it to the very top of the cabinet. Okay, just like that. So we know our left to right is good. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I want to say we're going to take this in stages, because we're going to build up on this equation. So I'm going to say the first thing I want to do is subtract the width of the top rail. And it's important, as we start going down, this part is going to fall behind the doors. And so I was tempted at first to remove the doors to where I could see everything and then get it into position and then add the door back. But like I said earlier, with the presence of the door here, it adds a new parameter option in the tree. And so it was easier for me to have it already there before we before I started changing anything. So let's go back to the equation. And what we want to do is we want to subtract this top rail. So I know it from memory, but we're going to go to the object tree and we're going to find it. Let's find the top rail. So I already know it's cab.face.toprail. And then we want the thickness of the top rail. So we want the dx, not the dy. So let's grab this right here. We're going to copy that. we're going to come back to the up down. And I'm going to add a minus sign. And I'm just going to paste that right in there. It does not matter if you mix and match capital letters. So I'm going to hit test. And we can see that we started out from 96 and now we are down at 94.5. So we subtracted that 1.5 inches. So now that drops it down. All right, so now we need to drop it down even more. Well, because we're doing this in stages, we're going to take a look at this next opening is what we need to drop it down. And so logically, you would be like the opening of the face frame. But I found messing with this, because we added these doors, it is going to be one of the pair door openings that we're going to be pretty much forced to use in this scenario, and not the face frame openings that that would seem to make sense. Like my brain would be like, we're going to go with the face frame openings, not the door openings. But for me, it just didn't work out because the face frame openings were not, it was a little more complicated to decipher what they were than just going off the door openings. So if there's, some of you really experienced people out there, you can comment and let me know, correct me if my ways, if I'm doing this wrong. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the pair door opening and we're going to go to the DY value of that. Because I think the DX value is the width of each individual door. And if we want to double check, let's go to our section. We can see that the height is 28.5. So this is the distance that I want to come down. So if we take this door opening, let's take the 28.5 value. I'm going to copy that. Let's come back here, come back to our face, on our up down. Let's add the minus sign, and then I'm just going to paste that value in. So what we should see if we hit test, it should take that 94.5, subtract 28.5, and we end up with 66. So we hit OK. It is dropping us down where we would expect the top of this to be, because there is a 1/2 inch overlay. So that does look correct. So now we need to go down the middle rail thickness, and then this thickness as well. So let's do the middle rail. Let's go back to our tree, because now we actually have 2 middle rails, and actually we have 3. So 1, 2, 3. So what you're going to see is you're going to have a middle rail, and a middle rail, and how they're going to differentiate is MR at sign 2, and then MR at sign 3. Now, these are all the same, so, you could get away with probably using any MR because we're just going off the thickness, but we're going to take this top MR. I clicked it, so it lets us know that it's this first MR, so no at and a number behind it, so we know we're here. So we're going to click the DX to that, and that's what we're going to copy. All right, so let's come back to our equation. That's not what we wanted. We want to make sure that we get our filler. So it's right behind the door. So we're going to right click that board filler, so that way we know we're at the right one. We're going to click the equation, minus sign, and then I'm going to control paste that parameter, and it's going to drop us down to the bottom of that middle rail. So now the last thing to get this in place is we got to drop it down this opening. And so to kind of help figure out what that is, I'm going to go back, and I know that I'm looking for a opening value that shows 16 3/4 in the DY. And so let's go back into the cabinet level. Let's go to our face. And so we have some openings here. And this one does not have a door on it, so we know it's going to be one of our faced openings. So I'm just going to click through them. until I see this 16 3/4. So I know that it was that FO for frame opening at 3, so it's frame opening number 3 is what it's calling it. And so we want the dy of that, so we can actually just copy this. I'm going to go back and get my board filler, and we're going to hit the minus sign because we want to subtract, and then let's test that out. 46.5. All right, so that was kind of long, kind of tedious, but it got it to where we want. Okay, so now I'm just going to save this just in case. So now we're in place up and down, but if I say, let's say I want to make this 9 foot tall, and let's say, or actually I don't need to do that. Let's say I want to make this opening bigger. Let's say this needed to actually be 17 or 18. Let's do 18 to make it a little easier to see. We can see that all, while we are maintaining the up and down, it is not growing. Like, it is not restrained to the size of this opening. All right, so to make that work, we're going to go back into the cabinet, the face, the left filler. And if we just go back to our up and down a second, we just determined that the frame opening 3 is what we determined that is the parameter from that. So what you can do is we can actually just take this cab.face.frame-opening number 3.dy. We can copy that if it's not already in your clipboard. I can come to my length here, and this is the length of the filler, and so I'm just going to hit Control V. And we're going to test it out, and that rings back true at 18. So that is saying constrain the length value to the size of frame opening number 3. So now, if I want to make this like 20, or if we want to go back to 16.75, now we have that filler growing and shrinking appropriately. All right, so let's take a look at anything else that we need to add a equation to, and it looks pretty good. And we're not going to do this with the formula here. We're going to make that into an attribute, so that way all we do is we have to come in here, we click that, and we have our own little attribute right there that allows us to just type a number in, and it will grow by that amount. So to do that, we're going to right click this filler, we're going to go to properties, go to parameters, we're going to add and under the top of parameter edit, we're going to go to an attribute. And so we're going to name this, and this is important that you remember the name or write it down because we're going to use it. So I'm going to name this very simply so I can remember it. So left, keep the capitals on, left filler, actually let's do this, left filler width, just like that. And then I'm going to type it out, left filler width. Simple. And I'm going to default the value to 1.5 inches because that is what we started out with, and that's just going to give it the starting value over here. So if we hit OK, we hit OK. Now, if we click this, we have a left filler width attribute. If we put numbers in, nothing happens yet, so we have to link some stuff yet, but we can see that it is there. And so from here, we're going to right click, go to properties. We are going to, actually, we're not going to go to properties. We're going to go to edit shape. And this is going to bring us in the edit shape menu. We're going to go to constraints. We're going to do a length constraint, and we're going to click and drag up. We're going to go to text. We're going to type in the exact name we gave it, so left filler width. It's important that this matches exactly, and to test that, you know, you hit test, and if it comes back with the value that we put in, we are good to go. So it's important that we do this to the top here and the bottom, otherwise it will only grow the one. We'll get like a triangle. So the exact same thing that we put in at the top. We put in at the bottom. All right, we're going to back out. We're going to hit save shape. Yes. And now if we go to the left filler and like say we put in something like a value of 3, we're going to see that we get a, you know, it's going to drive that width. So it will change widths based on the number we put in. All right, so that's looking pretty good. We've got this left side done. And if we, for example, let's make this cabinet 24 deep. Let's just make sure that everything's sticking with the cabinet. So looks good. So I think we're good to start going over to the other side. So if we right click here, we could, you know, we could copy and paste, but there's a lot that we've done to this. So what I'm actually going to do is just add a new part. We're going to do a new board, right filler. We're going to do, what did I say, 16.75. If we changed it back, I can't remember, but that's okay. Okay, so we're going to start basically from scratch here again. Because sometimes, like if you're going to copy and paste, I do it like at the early stage before I start adding stuff. So sometimes if you got, you know, if you got a lot going on with the part, maybe it's easier just to, you know, bring a new part in and start it. So, all right, so let's tackle the left and right first. Okay, so the left, we're going to, if we think about this logically, if we zero this out as like a starting point. All right, so we need to move it over the width of the left style plus the width of this opening. But before we do anything else, it's important, like I had told you earlier, that this blue dot is up against the side walls. So before I do anything, I need to rotate this part by 180 degrees. Just like that, because you want it to grow away from that blue dot. All right, so now if we just start kind of using our logic, so let's first we're going to say the left style. We want to move it over the width of the left style. Well, first I got to go to equation. So let's say cab.face.leftstyle.dx. So cabinet face left style the width. It gives us 1.5 inches. All right, so that's good. So then now we need to move the distance of the opening width. And so if we go here, we can see on our face that our opening widths, you know, the dx of this is 28.5, and the dx of this is also 28.5. So I think we can safely use any of the dx widths, I believe, and not get in trouble. So let's just see. All right, so, well, we got to get this right filler. Let's go to the equation, and we're going to subtract, and I believe we subtract that. And actually, maybe we need to add it. So we have to add going this direction. So we're going to add that to it. So I added what I did with the left style is I said position it, you know, the width of it. And then when we go to move it this distance, I guess we're adding it in the positive direction. So basically we're coming from the bottom, but I think we're going to do the same thing on the up and down. And let's just start from the top. Because for some reason my brain just works better top down. Okay, so to start out on the up down, we're going to say cab.dy. It's going to bring us up to 96. And so whereas this guy, we fixed this point down here on the bottom left, whereas this right filler, we're going to try to get him on the top right corner. Okay, so if we think logically, we got to go down more. So the next step down is going to be the thickness of the top rail. So if I go cab, we want the cabinet, look down into the face level, look at the top rail, and then look at the thickness of that top rail, and that's how far I want to go down. Okay? Brings us there. And so now we need to go down that face value here. And so what we're going to do here, let's click this left filler in the up down. Let's just steal from what we did here. So we know it's the third. So we're looking at the door open. So right here. So cab.face. So we want to be in between both of those minus signs. So if you can see what we're doing. So minus, so cab.face.dooropen.dy. And then it's a subtract sign. So that's as far as we need to go to copy that. So then if we go back to this board filler on the right, let's go back to the equation and we're going to subtract that same amount. And it looks like I got too much. So I copied too much. So we just want that cab.face.door_open.dy. And that brings us to the top of that middle rail. And we already established over here that is the first middle rail. So let's try to do this without any help. I'm going to also go back in and we're going to subtract cabinet.face.mr with nothing on it because I don't think it, I think it was just mr.dx for the width. Gives us 63. And we are pretty much in position. Okay, we're still way back at the wall because we have not given it a width equation yet, but we are in the right position. So now let's go to the in and out. Very simple. Cabinet width dz minus the material thickness. And that gives us 23¼ because we changed the depth to 24, so that's correct. So then now we should be in the right position. Okay, so moving down the list, we're going a little faster with this one. Okay, so the length here, we've already did the length of the left filler, so what we can do here is we can literally copy what we did here, hit OK, take it to the right filler, and then on the length of the part, we can literally just paste that, and we're good to go. I think we've got all of our equations more or less, except for the width. We're going to turn that into a attribute. But I think we're good on the positioning. So let's take the right filler and let's add that sizing attribute. So we're going to right click, go to parameters. We're going to add an attribute. We're going to call this right underscore filler width. And let's go ahead and give this a value of 1.5 as well. We're going to hit OK. And it's asking me to put a description in. And, you know, one thing that might be smart whenever you're doing these, like if you want to put like an identifier at the end to know that it's a custom attribute and not, you know, something that defaults with Cabinet Vision, you know, I could put something like KVC for my cabinet shop, you know, just so that way when I look at it, I know that it's something that I've done if I'm looking at it way down the road. So if I come to right filler, we can see right filler with KBC. Be like, all right, I know that that's, you know, an attribute that I put in. You know, or your initials or whatever, your name. And so if other people are also creating attributes, you can separate them based on who's the one doing it. All right, so now lastly, let's tie this thing in with the, so that attribute actually works. We're going to right click, go to edit shape. Going to go up here to our length constraint. Click and drag. We're going to do right underscore filler width. Test it. We're good. I'm just going to right click that, copy it. You know, you could copy this to clipboard and then, you know, you can be a lot more efficient doing it. I'm just doing it this way for the sake of this tutorial. But now if we back out, we save new shape. If we click this part, we now have an attribute that we can modify. That is it. Okay. And so then from here, you know, once you get it set up, you save it to your library. You know, you go to File, Save As, and then you can save it to wherever. And now I just want to double back on when I said that when you add and remove stuff, it jacks some stuff up, and I don't know why, but so for example, if I come in and edit this in section view, the moment I remove the doors, it throws all this stuff off, right? And then I bring the doors back and we're good to go. The opposite works in return. If you add these in before you add the doors, it will throw it off. And so that's why I said it's better to edit it with everything in place before. And I don't know why, other than the moment we remove these doors, we set our equations with that door dy parameter. Well, when I remove the doors, that door dy parameter is no longer there. So, you know, that's why it's doing that. And then when I put the doors back, that door dy parameter is back. And so, you know, that's, you know, why it is. And so I don't know why that is. I'm not smart enough to figure out why. I just know that, you know, for me, I figured out that if I get the cabinet pretty much ready to go before I start doing stuff like this, then I'm good to go. I can save it and I can edit it. So, and I can make changes. All right. So hopefully that is helpful. You know, it is kind of tedious and like maybe a little hard to get your mind around first, you know, adding and subtracting all these different values, but just know that the object tree is your friend, and the more time you spend, you know, doing stuff like this and just kind of like logically thinking through things, it will become a lot easier. Like it's, you know, it's really not that bad if you got to put a little time and effort into learning it, and it's probably pretty good for your brain, honestly. It's like doing those puzzles and stuff like that. But anyway, I will leave that there. I'll wrap it up on that. So, you know, we've got a functioning oven cabinet with fillers in the microwave section that you can edit it. So appreciate you guys watching this video. I really hope you guys learned something from it. And if you did, please, you know, let me know. And thanks for sticking around this long, and we'll see you in the next video.